This guy has no background whatsoever in SEO, building websites, or a local media company. I mean, do any of us really? Yet now he's making a full-time income from it. He's got a Facebook fan page with only about 30,000 followers, yet some of his posts get shared hundreds of times. One of his posts was seen by more than 1 million people and made him more than $1,000. One post. And he's becoming a bit of a local celebrity in town. He shares some tips with me on how he finds his local business stories, and we brainstorm a bit about how he's planning to grow his business going forward. Enjoy.
I did a story about Atlantic City, this water park that they've opened, and like 1.2 million people saw that on Facebook. It's an hour drive from Atlantic City. I was down there for an hour taking drone photos. I made a couple $1,000s off that post because so many people read that thing.
All right, Mark Matthews, we're recording, man. You run a brand, 42 Freeway. I found you. We're both in the Mediavine ad network, right? Both you and I run ads on both of our brands, our media brands. I think what you and I are doing is kind of the future. Like what you're doing excites me. Let me jump to your Facebook page. This is actually one of the reasons I remember why I was like, this is crazy. What is this guy doing? This is nuts. Your posts, man. I have not seen this. Like, so, okay, I'm just going to scroll through 39 shares.
This last one was an experiment, but when you get into some of the other ones, yeah, it gets kind of crazy, the reaction that I get.
So 53 shares, 51 shares, but like, what's crazy though, is that's like consistent, man. How in the world is this happening? What's going on? How did you get into this? You studied this in college, right?
No. I don't have any background at all in this. That's the craziest thing. I have like 3 different careers in my life, and I'm really not trained for any of them. And I found levels of success with them. So, and by the way, you're showing those Facebook things. They're all great stories, but like, yeah, some of them get. I did a story about Atlantic City, this water park that they've opened.
Yes.
And like 1.2 million people saw that on Facebook, which, considering I have 36,000 followers on my page. To then hit 1.2 million, it does get kind of crazy. And it's also interesting that like there's so many people that will say, "Oh, Facebook's dead. You don't even need Facebook." I've had this discussion with business owners when they open up a business, and they're like, "Oh, my kids say no one uses Facebook." I'm like, "Dude, no, you got to get on Facebook." But anyway, yeah, I don't have a background in this specific to the site. Well, let me just, if I could just go on, Brooks.
Yeah, give me your background.
Yeah, well, so the general for folks watching at home, the general theme is I write about new things coming to the area. A big part of it is just commercial construction, but then also things you're going to get in your car and drive about. And I sort of frame it in, if you're sitting at the bar with your buddies or you're having Thanksgiving dinner, and just like my stories, I think are like things you talk to other people about. Hey, did you hear Wegmans is coming? Hey, did you hear about that new restaurant that's coming to Mount Laurel? And I think it grabs people. And I try to stick with stories that have that broader appeal, but it's kind of grown. And, when I started this, I think a lot of people that are in the sort of the web business target it as a money-making facet. I am so different. I literally was just a guy who heard like 10 years ago, heard about some things going on in my community. And I started going to some council meetings, and I sat in and listened, and I started writing them up. And what I realized very quickly was if your taxes are going up 2% or you're getting a new fire truck, people didn't really care. But if you told them a new Taco Bell was coming, oh my God, everybody would get excited.
Why is that? Is it that like I've noticed that in my community too?
People are looking for new things, whether it's just a discussion point or to actually go there and try them out. And then also a lot of my thing, I found a skill in identifying new things coming very, very early. So that's another thing I'll do. Like people are in their community. They don't even know that empty lot is targeted to be a Dollar General. It's not all about restaurants. So I'm the guy that figures that out early on and gets it online. And then even then, that's sort of like you want to share that with your friends in your community. It's not all happy posts at the 42 Freeway site. Sometimes people are upset because they're like, you're tearing down our trees to put up a Dollar General. But it still gets that sort of reaction. And that's where the Facebook piece comes into it for me, where, people start tagging their friends. They start sharing it to their page, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, that's actually one of my questions. How do you get in the know of what is coming and like what's happening? Because even my brand that's really in the know, that's a pretty difficult piece to kind of have that to have those tips or that knowledge. Like how does that work for you?
One aspect of this is, and I don't know if every state does this, I'm going to say maybe 20% of my articles come from a online database that all of the newspapers are connected to. They do it for the good
Mm.
of the public. So if you're building something in New Jersey, you probably have to get approval from the planning board or the zoning board. The planning board's going to say, all right, you're building a Raising Cane's chicken finger restaurant. How big's the parking lot? Does it meet our zoning for, the number of parking spaces? And a nice thing they've done in New Jersey for just open government is, oh, I'm sorry. And when you do these meetings, the town and the developer have to publicize that in the newspapers. It's law. It has to be done so many days in advance. It's funny because the laws haven't even really been updated for the internet era. But what's nice is all those newspapers funnel all those legal notices into one central database that I have access to. So that's one aspect. I literally will just start my morning with my coffee, and I'll just type in, like, pick my counties, type in 42, not 40, sorry, type in planning board, zoning board, and see what's happening. Definitely right now I can see that the projects are slowing up, but that's literally maybe like 20% of my stories or less. I've got a reputation now. I got, I'm as much, this may sound like an ego thing, but I'm becoming like a little local celebrity in my area.
Yeah.
I put my face in my videos. I'm doing some TikTok. And literally, it's probably like 80% of the time, if I just go out in public to the mall or to a restaurant, someone's like, hey, you're the 42 Freeway guy. So what happens is people see some things in their community and they message me. And sometimes it's like they just expect me to have the answer. Hey, Mark, do you know what's going on with the old ShopRite grocery store? I saw people in there. But at least that gives me, what's the saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire,
Yeah. So, that's like a lead for you. You can,
and I'll track that down. I also,
what do you do? Like,
about,
would you just like drive over there to the store
so,
where there's some people? Is that your process? You would just be like, all right, let me go check this out.
I drive over. Well, I do a lot of research independently at home on my computer.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much every single story I drive over to, because I want to. Here's the thing: we're all busy. We all have a direct path to go to our jobs if you have a day job. I have some flexibility, so I want to bring my readers to that location. It's a challenge I have with my competitors, because a lot of my competitors will maybe look at the same story and they'll immediately just put it online. Like, they'll go to Google Street Maps, get an image of the building, and say, "Oh, this is going to be a New Mexican restaurant." But me, I'm taking some extra time. I'm driving there. I'm trying to get a hold of the owner to talk to them. I want to get inside, and when I think one of the things you just previewed for me was a new bar that reopened. They had been closed for 3 years, so it takes time for me to coordinate that and get in there, because I want to show my readers what it's like to actually go to that place.
In your area, who are your competitors? Traditional media outlets that like have existed, or is it other newer brands that are more independent like you?
Both. So
Okay.
the local sort of Gannett's a big newspaper corporation, so they have like 3 papers here.
I think they own our. I think they, Gannett sounds familiar. Like, I recognize that. So I think they actually own our local media company as well. I think
they may own like 100 papers. They own the USA Today, and just part of one of their many things they cover. They are absolutely going after the same stories. The new restaurant coming in, the road project. So I have that. And I've talked to a lot of those people, even like the larger Philadelphia Inquirer, which is like the major paper. And it's funny because, like, when they call and it says Courier Post or email Inquirer, they'll get a lot more reaction than I do as the 42 Free. As much as I think people know and love my site, I don't get the same response. But anyway, so I'm competing with them. There's also a lot of other sites like mine that are doing similar things, more typically just in the food restaurant category. That seems to be a big thing.
Are they independent? Are those sites independent, or are they like more regional sites, or are they kind of localized to your area? Just
so most of them are local to the area. There is one site, and I'll just say it's the What Now brand. The gentleman started in Atlanta, pretty much doing what I'm doing, but I think targeted again more towards the restaurant aspect.
I've heard of it.
Trying to he now has like What Now Philly, What Now Chicago, just different areas. But they're doing a wonderful job, but I don't think they have, this is the challenge. Like, when I think about my own expansion, I don't think they have a person in each of the towns. So they're using other means, they're getting their hits, but they're not getting, say, in my area, they're not getting the number of stories that I would get. So, and then, what, honestly, I say this to the business owners all the time. One of my biggest competition is just the regular customer with their phone and a Facebook account and a food group in the neighborhood, or 25-year-old with a TikTok account. sometimes a new restaurant's opening, like, Mark, we love what you're doing, but we're not ready to put it on your site because we don't want to blow the place up in the first week.
Yeah.
And I'm respectful to that. But then what happens is every other customer is going in there and they're taking their own photos and they're putting it on the groups. And, it doesn't stop my coverage, but it does take a little bit out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think you'll adjust your strategy where maybe you do it in like multiple parts? Like you kind of do an earlier, like, hey, I want to get this out there and say, hey, part two's coming soon. Like, is that something you could do you think?
All right, quick break. If you're like me, you're running websites, or you soon will be. You're gonna need a host and a WordPress theme. And after years and dozens of website builds, my favorites are the GeneratePress theme. It's fast, lightweight, easy to use. And WPX for hosting. They're the absolute best. It's fast and their service is incredible. If I need something, I can hop on a chat in like less than 30 seconds with one of their support members. Amazing. I'll put the links down in the description if you'd like to check these out. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about them. Back to the video.
It's a great point. So in two different categories, if it's a development, brand new building, I'm definitely there very early on. And I'm going back. I track everything in a database. So if I show up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, I know the 40 things that I've written about and I'll go check them out. The original planning meeting, when they start 6 months later, they start turning dirt over at the site. That's actually another story because people become skeptical if it takes too long before something happens. So that's a story.
Wait a minute. Dive into that a little bit for me. So you track, because I feel like I could take some useful tips from this. You track everything, like every project that you're kind of writing about, like when it starts. Like what does your process look like for that?
I have a scratch pad that I just use in like iPhone notes. It's like if I'm out on the road and I see something, I'll make a note. But then every other day or so, I have, my prior job was a computer software development manager. And we use this process called Kanban, which was actually created by Toyota decades ago. And the general concept was you're much more better if you and the team focus on one or two things than trying to solve 100. There's sort of this stage status, like here's things I'm researching. I'm going to visit here. So I created my own sort of columns and it's a workflow. And I have this like backlog. So every time I move something through and I write about it, I don't close it, say if it's coming, still to come, I'll move it into a different backlog and, it's all tagged by town. So as I said, if I'm now covering all of Southern New Jersey. So if I pop down to say Atlantic City, I can actually just bring up a quick query and see everything that I've written about and I'll just check it out. So
nice. What's your tool of choice for that? I use Trello.
Trello.
Yeah. That's what I use.
I think it's Trello. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I use. I've used my whole, funny fact about Trello, a few days ago, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, Trello was down. The website was down. And I've prepared myself, like basically my entire business, every project I do, my entire life's in Trello. And I was like, if it went down and I lost all the information, I would just have to start from scratch and create but I'm actually at peace with that. I'm literally telling myself that, hey, if that ever happened, but yeah, that happened the other day. It did make my heart skip a beat. and then I was like, that's okay. What's the worst?
They're part of a much larger corporation. So they may have their hiccups. Look, even Facebook and Twitter go down for a little bit at times, but
exactly.
I trust that they're coming back.
Exactly. It's I think it's Atlassian.
Atlassian, yes.
Atlassian. They bought Trello, and so I used Trello before they got bought or whatever. I've asked a few people that use Trello. I don't pay for it, and I do everything that I need. Do you pay for Trello or is it the free version?
I do pay for the very basic features just because I wanted to create my own custom fields. And I forget the exact specific. So what was happening is I could put a town in for a project or story. I could put a town in, but I sort of saw things as regions. If I go to a different county, I just said Atlantic City, which I don't actually do a lot down in Atlantic City, but Atlantic City, there's like 7 or 8 towns in that area. So when I search, I don't want to have to type in Atlantic City, Egg Harbor, I wanted to do by regions. And I'm like, well, I need a new field for that. And that's where it tricked into me having to pay for it. It's not that much money though.
No, it's not. And it's not that I'm being frugal, although I am frugal. It's just that I haven't come across the features, I guess, because I'm just like, I don't know. I just keep using it and I feel good with my current process. I just haven't had to pay for it, like literally in years. So I don't know.
We were also talking about, just to close this thread out, about me doing multiple stories. So yes, in a pure construction sense, I'm tracking it. Just as another, we have out in the Northeast, we have the Wawa convenience stores. They're like a cult following. They're spreading through Florida and elsewhere, and they
we're
are
getting our first one.
You're getting your first one. Where are you at? What town?
I'm in Mogul.
Oh wow, I didn't know they made it down there. Yeah, they're fanatical up here, and what they're doing is I think they want to keep competition out, so they're just building them on like every corner. So like I will go back there multiple times I'm a licensed drone operator now for commercial, and I'll do multiple posts. Now, where it becomes challenging is if, say, it's a new restaurant popping into a strip mall, and I know it's getting ready to open. I want, my heart is like, I want to wait for the few days before and have the owner come in and give me that preview tour. I think, we'll talk about this in a second, but I'm not making any money on Facebook, although I know they've changed the programs. I need to get people back to my website. So when you see it on Facebook, what's going to make them click? And one of the things is like, hey guys, click into my article and I'm going to show you what this place was like. I've eaten the food. And what happens though is that coordination can take time with the owner. And sometimes they just don't want me to write about it. And so I started thinking, all right. And in the interim, one of these other competitors have already put it online and I've lost some.
I found here's that water park post you were talking about. So holy smokes, man, this, I think when I saw this post, it had already matured and it had like 1,000 shares. Is it still getting traction or something?
This is a real interesting story. I don't spend a lot of time in Google Analytics. Google Analytics is great for like trends and identifying. There's a segment where they show you the keywords that people typed in to get to your site. And and I don't spend a lot of time in it because it's news oriented. My site is news. Nobody wants to hear about your hometown, the Phillies game 2 weeks ago. They want to know the most recent thing. And then after that, it kind of dies. So related to this, I did a story in like October that it was coming. It was only half developed. I had the drone up. And 5 months later, I look at Google Analytics, and literally in the top 10, 9 of the top 10 were variations of Atlantic City Water Park, Showboat Water Park. Now, this is 5 months after I did the story. So whatever reason, Google identified that article that I did, say, 6 months before opening as like the #1 article. And I had no idea. So I said, all right, what do you do in that scenario, Brooks? I went back down to Atlantic City and I did another story, and it worked. What everybody says you do with keywords and SEO, it worked. And that thing just took off. And it's interesting though, how it also took off in Facebook. Facebook and Google are not connected, but it just took off. And it's an hour drive from Atlantic City. I was down there for an hour taking drone photos. I made a couple $1,000 off that post because so many people read that thing. So well worth my time.
Did the Facebook shares come before the Google ranking, or do you know? Any idea?
So I had a prior post to this.
Okay.
And the Google ranking had already climbed.
Got it. Yeah, for you, really interesting. For you, it was a timely article, and like there probably was no other content. People were searching for it. Google found your article and pushed you up because what else was there? You know what I mean? Like you had a good article about it, so like you moved to the top, which is awesome, man.
In that scenario, Atlantic City, the visitors to Atlantic City are driving an hour from Philadelphia and New York. So they're not down there to see what's going on about this water park. So when I got the drone up and got the drone photos, like I think that really connected with people like, oh, wow. And, now you're not talking about the 100,000 people. I don't know how many live in Atlantic City area. You're talking about the millions that live in Philly and New York. So it pulled those folks in. I even got an early preview tour of that facility just to kind of give a sense. You asked me, how do I get these stories? The owner of that property is Bart Blatstein. He's kind of well known in the Philadelphia region. He's made some very successful projects, and he bought that hotel. And I was going through the normal channels, like with their marketing team, trying like, hey, look at this great success I had. Can I come in and see the place? So I saw that a couple of years ago he was on Twitter, and I literally stood at a parking garage outside with his water park over my shoulder, and I recorded a video to him. It's like, hey, Bart, you don't know me, but like I'm crushing on your water park here. Like I'm beating all the major media. I'd love to come in. And don't you know that he signed up for my email letter under his personal account and sent me an email and just like, Mark, I've added in my executive vice president into this email. I'd love to have you come in, coordinate with her. Good luck. And I'm like, awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. How did you tell me how long you've been running the site? I can't remember.
So it started out maybe 9 or 10 years ago, but I want to be
Okay.
very clear. It only became a money thing for me in the last 3 years, and it's really
Yep.
taken off. For the first 7 years, it was very much a hobby. I would literally go months without even putting anything online. It was just
Got
life
it.
got ahead of me. I'll tell you that there's no silver lining to the whole COVID pandemic, but what happened was when I got to work from home for 18 months, I had an hour commute each way to my day job. So when I got to work from home, I saved 2 hours of my life each day, and I just started putting it into the website and writing more posts. And I was also able to, like, I had some flexibility because of some construction was going on in the middle of the day. Yeah, I'd shoot over and get those photos. I couldn't do that when I was working an hour away. And around the same time, I was not making any money. Actually, I had Google AdSense, and I used to joke with my buddies I was making beer money. And I learned about Mediavine. And so two things happened. One is Mediavine absolutely does pay more. I got accepted because I do have a high number of food and restaurant stories in there. They do pay more. They're smart. They educated me on how to. My stories went from being like 3 sentences to being 7 paragraphs, which we could talk about that too. And then when I saw the numbers grow, I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm going to start writing more and more. So I had that extra 2 hours in my life. So everything 3 years ago, I would have never thought that I would have quit my day job and I'd be sitting here talking to you on this video. That's it all happened in that quickly.
So you just quit your day job by choice? You said, "Hey, I want to go full time into this brand." I mean, you seem like you love it. Like you're all about it. You obviously started it 10 years ago as a passion project, and now I guess it affords you the ability to be flexible and run.
Yeah. So, well, there's 2 facets. So I know you're going to say, Mark, you look like you're a 25-year-old man. But
Exactly.
an older guy. And so I have had some success in my life in the corporate world. So I had some savings.
Got it.
And when I was working the day job and writing articles, more articles, the revenue was going up. It was still, I used to joke it was like Uber money. If I put the same,
Yeah.
hours I was driving an Uber, it was at the time was equivalent to that. And I said to my wife, it's been about 18 months now. I said, look, this is where I'm at doing part-time. But it's a real struggle for me because after my day job and that big commute, I'd have to find time, and I was sacrificing in other parts of my life. I said, trust me on this. I think we can do this. I think I can do this. I'm absolutely not covering my day job salary. But again, I'm an older man, so I don't, my kids are done college. I do have some retirement going. And she said, yeah, give it a shot. So I turned it into full time. It's everything I promised myself and her. I've met and beat, but then at the same time, man, I am my own worst critic. I think I could be doing twice as much with the site and stories, but I need to just change some of the ways I work. So,
well, one thing hats off to you, man. Like, congratulations for the growth you've had.
we have
Exactly.
the same haircut.
Hey, man. Yeah, my guy. One thing I know you don't do much, I think, in regards to SEO, writing because you're writing stories and it's more about social shares and it's driving traffic back to your site. But I think you're expanding or looking to really dig into SEO, which I think will be a total nother explosion for your site. I don't know where you are on that, but I remember when we chatted before, it wasn't even on your radar at the time.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah, and again, there was no sense to it because truly, once you know that the Dollar General is coming to your neighborhood, that story's done. It's not like in the Mediavine, there's a lot of folks that are writing recipe sites. If you have the #1 keto recipe site, for the next 10 years, people are going to be searching for, I need a keto recipe for Thanksgiving. And if you've done SEO and you've seen it, some of the people in that Mediavine private group that we have, they're just amazing with what they know. They're making sure their stories at the top of the Google search results. For me, I'm like, all right, it's news. I didn't bother. The things that I do focus on that I maybe more so got from Mediavine is just, the longer stories, to make Google, recognize you as an authority. The shorter paragraphs, you put more, shorter paragraph. One, it's more appealing to the reader. That if a reader sees a big, giant, chunky text, it's intimidating to them, and they're going to move on. But it also allows Mediavine to insert ads, in the content. So those are the basic things.
I'll scroll an example.
Challenges though, because I'm trying to write 1 or 2 articles a day. I have just 80 recipes online and I'm tweaking them. I'm cranking these out. So it's probably my toughest challenge with this type of site in the Mediavine platform because it still takes 4 or 5 hours to do a story.
Got it. Got it. What is when I just scrolled past and I saw that I've seen that before. Your subscribe box lights up. Is that a part of your theme, your website theme, or what is that?
All right, time out. Quick question. I'm sure that with your business, you're sending out email newsletters, right? If you're using an old school product like MailChimp, please stop. About a year ago, I found Beehive and became obsessed with their product. I mean, bees are better than monkeys anyway, right? It's more affordable, it's fun to build on, and you can actually monetize a newsletter if that's something that you're wanting to do. I've got a link down below in the description where you can check out their free trial. I love this product. Back to the video.
You're missing out, man. So I am running, the other thing you get with Mediavine, I don't want to turn this into a complete Mediavine commercial, but I'm running the Trellis WordPress framework.
Yeah.
And it is totally optimized for speed. And then also, you know, it's their ads that's going in. So they've kind of worked it that the ads themselves don't hurt the performance. You know, it's ironic to me that Google AdSense is for you're starting out, you get on Google AdSense, and then Google's also the site with their, you know, their core web vitals, whatever it's called, measuring it. And AdSense is just awful on Google's own measurements. But with Mediavine, they figured it out. So I got Mediavine ads on a Mediavine template. So to the question of that pop-up, that is part of the Mediavine Spotlight, Grow Spotlight. So that's actually a Mediavine feature where you can just click, it just grays out to collect email addresses. It grays out the page. You can just click away from it. But if you put your email address in there, I get that. I can add it to my mailing list. And, you know, then your page never has that grayness to it. I think it's a better implementation than that giant pop-up that, you know, you get in front of pages that blocks the content.
Yeah. Actually, is that a big part of what you do? Like your email newsletter portion? Is that a piece of
it is wheel? Continuing the Mediavine commercial. I used to run FeedBurner, which was a Google had purchased them. And I didn't push it hard. I had about 800 subscribers, and there was no sort of annoying incentive for someone to sign up. There was just a little thing on my sidebar, and I had 800 people. When I switched over to the Trellis platform with Spotlight and the Grow, that pop-up thing you had, I went in like 18 months from 800 to 8,000 email addresses. And
gotcha.
So then I used MailerLite, which is, you know, one of the many email tools, but it's, you know, I'm just doing simple things. I'm doing an RSS feed once a week. MailerLite connects to my RSS feed, sees what's new, and then sends it out to those 8,000 people.
Oh, so, got it. Okay.
You know, I used to be like very, very dependent on Facebook. And now with my sort of authority growth, I guess, in Google and the newsletter, you know, Facebook's gone from like 66% of my traffic to maybe 25% of my traffic. And it's not that I lost on Facebook. It's just I've been able to grow it and, you know, other ways. And that newsletter is one of those ways. You know, not everybody's on Facebook. A lot of people don't want to deal with all the crazy comments you get on Facebook.
Exactly. But I mean, I think for like for us, you know, people, brands like us, like you have to be multi-channel. So what just happened recently? So we're recording on the 26th of September. Like Google just came out with a helpful content update, and there are a lot of people's websites that have been decimated, like literally 50% drop in traffic. I've seen some 70 to 80% drops in traffic. These are people that are focused solely on SEO though. That's all they're doing. They're not creating a social brand. They're not building an email list. And so that traffic drop really hurts if that's your only, you know, strategy. So,
you know, there's some irony in this because, you know, I'm also on Reddit participating in like the blogging groups and things like that. And you'll see very frequently people are like, I don't know, you can't rely on Facebook because you're tied to their algo. You can't rely on this.
Yeah.
And they're pushing SEO. Well, guess just what you described.
Yep.
They're just dependent on a different tech giant, you know, and it seems like Google's changing the recipe every 6 months. So I feel like maybe I have a balanced attack here because I do have 36,000 people on my Facebook page. And by the way, it's 36,000 people. They're all nerds about this new stuff like I am.
Yeah.
You know,
which is defined by the amount of shares. So we have our page has like 29,000 or something. We have no consistent shares like what you do. We have none of that. I recently had an article about like a new gas station that went kind of viral. It reached like 500,000 people. I haven't done that in a year on our business page. So I'm not joking, man. When I reached out to you and said, man, what are you doing? Like, this is amazing. The fact like your fans are avid fans and they want to share your articles with, you know, to hit a share button it kind of means something special, right? Like if you're on Facebook and you want to share it, that means you don't want to just consume it yourself. You want other people to actually see it. And it's like, how do you create that? I don't know, but you've done it, and you've done a really good job.
If I could be very honest, like I'm active as a person on Facebook for my friends, and I can't think of the last time I've shared a story.
Exactly.
I'm a big Phillies, I'm a big Philadelphia sports fan, Phillies, Eagles. If someone gives the Phillies a great review, I've never thought, let me share this on my Facebook page. So I'm amazed,
Exactly.
and I really love that my fans do that. And
Yeah.
at times I have done some sort of personal, when I left my day job, I did some like personal like videos, like, the more serious side of 42 Freeway, just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I appreciate you guys supporting me. But literally, I think only a very few small percentage of people are doing it. It's just organically the folks that are following my page are doing it. I also noticed like the other sites that we talk about the competitors, they'll write the same story as me and get like 3 likes on it
Yeah.
and 2 shares, and my story will have 400 likes and 100 shares.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned something about you making some more serious videos, like more personal, like you being personal with the brand. Let me actually ask you about that. Do you
Yeah.
do that a lot? Because like my wife and I are kind of the faces behind our brand. We've kind of gone back and forth. Like, do we want to be like, yeah, like influencers with a brand, or do we want just to be a brand? So how have you, done that, and what have you liked about what you've done, or not liked about certain things you've done?
I'm having success with it. I think I want to do more. I have
Mhm.
some time management I have to deal with. I mentioned that one sort of more personal video. I don't do a ton of them, but
Yeah.
it's more like I'm augmenting with, everything's going TikTok. I joke that everybody under 30 is on TikTok now. So if you don't have even if you can't find a way to make money on TikTok, maybe you need a presence there. So I'll do little videos at the new restaurant. I've done some of the construction updates. Uh, our area, there was this chain of Mexican restaurants called Don Pablo's, which our town had the last one, and they just tore it down. So I was there with my video. So it's my face talking to people like, can you believe they tore down the Don Pablo's? And they're building this chicken restaurant. And it's funny, like people have this emotional connection to this restaurant and the building, like, I can't believe they're tearing it down. But my face is on it, and it's more personable. There are people in the major newspaper in South Jersey that have been writing for 30 years, and no
Hmm.
one knows their name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, I'm like a friend, I think, telling them a story, a person they connect with, a person they want to see be successful. And it just sort of helps. And I think that, in one of the calls that the CEO of Mediavine did, he sort of called that out, like make it more than just your recipe site, put yourself into it. So
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Which speaking of, does anyone work with you, or do you completely work alone, or do you have any like freelancers, contractors, employees, anything?
So this is my goal for the wintertime. I am 1,000,000% alone. So
Okay.
I am doing all the writing, I'm doing all the researching, getting in my car, driving to 95% of the places I write about. So
Man.
there's just a natural governor. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yep.
And I thought when I quit my day job I'd be able to like do 3 times as many stories, and I haven't reached that.
Yeah.
So we're a 4-season area over here, and I really enjoy in the Philadelphia. I'm in South Jersey, Philadelphia area. I really enjoy the summertime, so it's harder to sort of take on new initiatives. I want to go to the outdoor deck bar and have a beer or go to the Phillies game. But now
Yep.
the wintertime's coming. It's
Totally.
like I said to my wife, my goal is to how can I bring other people in to help me out? And I think the challenge is I do think my style of writing and my personality is a part of my success with the site. So I still have to have that there, but have other people help me. So
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Facebook. So you're on TikTok, email newsletter.
yeah.
Obviously the blog. Is that the main
And I'm
social
doing
channels, or
some
is there anything
Instagram
else?
too. The Instagram had been
Okay.
mostly like just in my own casual out in life, eating at a restaurant or something. I would share
Yeah.
that. But I've had people ask me, why don't I share my stories to Instagram? So I'm adding that.
Yeah.
But all of those, though, my only real revenue stream is still the website. People come to the site. So all of those are just
Yep.
channels to get people back to the website. Now, I have some friends doing similar things, and Facebook has started this performance bonus program where they're
Yeah.
literally
I saw
they're
that.
getting paid for clicks and shares and likes, and I'm crushing it. Facebook has not invited me to the program. I don't know what that recipe is.
Crazy, because they invited me, and yeah, the way that they invited me, I think it's like a completely experimental. I don't even think
Yeah.
it's a permanent thing. I got some notice that actually someone that works with me on my team was like, "Hey, look at this," and I was like, "Okay." So I clicked some buttons and I went through, and I think they were like, "Hey, They gave no information about like what you get paid, how you get paid. They're just kind of like, hey, we're experimenting with this, and so
Right.
yeah. So
They invited me on my personal account, which is like locked to just my friends. Because
yeah,
I do have it set as a content creator, I think. But on my main site, now, one of my friends who has a site in a different area, very similar to mine, said what he does differently is he fills in, like, I only share links to my articles. That's all I do.
got it.
He fills in dead time with like just photos of the area. He's more in a sort of a touristy area.
Yeah.
So he'll take a picture of the beach or a picture of something and mix that in. So he has more pure content that's Facebook. My content's all like, if you click it, you're going outside of Facebook. And that's the only thing I can think why I have not been invited.
That could be because that's all your content. That's actually a valid point. But obviously Facebook is allowing that to be, a lot of times they kind of stop that in its track because they don't want people to leave Facebook, obviously. But yours are
Right.
still. That's why I was so amazed that your posts were still getting shared dozens,
Yeah.
30, 100 plus times, right? So
I'm almost a little afraid. I could very easily start adding in like photo posts and things like, hey, look
yeah,
at this nice park that nobody goes. Yeah. But I'm almost worried, will that mess up
yeah,
the Facebook algorithm in a negative way and
right.
impact my story? So,
Right, because you're like whatever you're doing is working and you don't necessarily want to
right.
adjust it. No, I totally get you there. Do
But
you go ahead?
if I could just add, I just wanted to say, you were touching on though, like getting other people to help me, and I just want to say that is literally, I want to reiterate this, my biggest challenge right now. I had a friend tell me a great line, and it's just I've heard it many times before, but it hit home with me. He says, "Mark, you've done an amazing job creating an awesome thing that people love. But what you've done is you've created a job for yourself.
Yeah,
You have not created a business. If I don't do something during, on a day, nothing happens at my site. And, so the point is,
yep,
how can I get other people working for me in a compensation model that's worthwhile to them and then still leaves enough for me to make money? I'm paying the bills with this website, but it's not like a business where, if you have a construction business, you have a business account with $500,000 in it and you pay yourself 80 grand a year. No, every dollar that the site generates is going into my household. So for me to bring someone else on and make it worthwhile, I'm taking a cut back on my pay. And I just have to, that's the thing. That's my goal for this wintertime, is to figure out what that balance is that I could say to someone, look, here's one of my ideas. I'm going to go out there still. I'm going to collect the photos. I'm going to get the sort of general story, and I'm just going to bullet it out. Here's the 7 bullets, 6 bullets, and send it to someone and maybe, have them write the bulk of the stories. That's pretty much the only idea I have on the table. We could talk further about that separately.
that's a good idea. We'll be able to talk a lot more offline later. With honestly, I have dozens of ideas, literally, but like that won't be the scope of this right now. Yeah, 100%. I'm excited. I'm happy for you, and I agree with your friend that like 100%. You gotta like, and honestly, getting some hired help may expand you outside of what you're even currently doing, right? Like it may be that you can then now double down, but it not cost you more necessarily. But anyways, do you charge any of the businesses that you cover, or are they all at no charge? And you're just like, if it makes sense for my brand, I'll do it.
It's 100% free. I
Okay,
don't charge the readers, which
yep,
works for me because some of my competitors, like the Gannett newspapers, they're on a subscription model. So,
yeah,
but I don't even charge the businesses. There's one time someone paid me money. To be clear, they're organizing a beer festival, and they're like,
hmm,
Mark, we love what you're doing. Can you do a post on our beer festival? It's not my thing. I don't want to promote, but they're saying like, look, it would be great if you could do a video and you could put something on your website, and we put ads on your site. And I said, guys, I'll happily do that. I love what you're doing, but that is something what I would charge for, and it's just a couple $100, and I think people would understand that. But yeah, every new restaurant opening, and just to be clear, those Facebook links, likes, and people go onto my website literally can turn into scenarios where the restaurant opens and they are just overwhelmed. So that business is getting their cash register filled with coverage from me and my competitors. I'm not going to take all the credit. There's some
sure,
amazing South Jersey food scene, and has this group with like 70,000 people in it.
wow, yeah,
But we're flooding these businesses, and I have charged them absolutely nothing. But my thing is, a lot of the business owners don't know me, especially if you're coming in from a different area. You're a New York-based restaurant. You're coming to Philly. If I call them up and say, "Hey, I'm the 42 Freeway guy. Trust me, we're really big in South Jersey. Pay me $300 to write a story about your business," I think my success rate is going to be very low on that. I think most people aren't going to go with that. So
got it. Got it. Because that's something that I've always I'll say always struggle with, like pay to play versus just creating content and then hopefully it,
Right.
it making financial sense to create that content right down the road somewhere, whether it's in the form of subscribers, fans online, or actual dollar revenue from, ads. I mean, genuinely, it's a hard thing to to discern.
Hey guys, I've got a quick favor to ask. My wife says if I don't double my YouTube subscribers, I can't be a YouTuber anymore. And I have to go out and get a real job. Can you help, please? A quick subscribe, a like, a comment, anything. Just anything to make my wife happy. I love you so much. Thanks. All right, back to the video.
The ad model that you and I have has been successful enough that I need to keep fueling that fire. I could see if a website was out there and didn't have the same revenue stream from the ad model, they'd be, all right, we'll pay us and we'll put an article up. But I need to keep throwing wood into that fire. And if I put the roadblock up of pay me, the readers tell me all the time, they message me all the time, like, dude, I can't believe you're not charging the businesses, because the readers get it. They see the influence that my site can have on businesses. Yeah. But I don't think all the business owners get it. So I'm very comfortable with how I'm doing it now, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Do you get pitched for like all the time, but you don't know if it would actually be a good fit? You know what I mean? To even write. So how do you handle those?
You're hitting on my two struggles right now. This is my second one. The first one is just how do I scale, bring other people in, scale. The second one is, my original theme was construction and things. Like I have a video from when I did this 9 years ago. It's like, hey, new construction and things that people would get in their car and drive to. That's what's going to drive the clicks. Many are interpreting it as I'm just a general new business site, and they don't realize that I already have 20 stories in the queue that I can't get to. So there are categories of stories that a woman was really, really tough with me recently. She opened up a financial planning office in a strip mall. I 100% know that if I wrote that, it's going to go no. So the Facebook algorithm is very, very real. The Google algorithm is very, very real. That last post you just had up on there of that tanning, wonderful people there. I almost did that as an experiment, because if people don't immediately, I put it online, don't immediately like it and share and comment, Facebook just says this is not good content. It disappears. So I have these really tough. This is my next sort of heartfelt video I think I want to do, but I'm trying to think it through of like, this is why I can't do your story. One is I just have way too many things to write, and two, there's just there's also like, if you open up a Pilates studio, it's a square building, a square room with mirrors and padding. If I spend 4 hours on that and put that online, it's not going anywhere, with the readers. So
yeah. So it makes me feel better. I'm surprised you haven't been slammed with that a lot more already, with that being faced with that kind of dilemma, because we've kind of faced that for years. We don't do as much business coverage. We started out as being like an events, kind of promoting events, right? Like that are going on in town. Here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. Okay. We had like a paid version and like an unpaid version. Like, well, this is a good event. If they don't want to pay, how do we, and so it's like this weird chicken, and it's a weird situation. But for businesses, I totally hear you. Like, it's kind of a tough situation, but if it's not good content for your brand, like it costs you literally resources to create the content, time, energy, effort, money, resources. And so maybe that's how you can politely massage or figure out a sponsored piece, right? Where maybe you can tell the company like, hey, look, this could be a good story. I don't think it's going to work well on our platform, but we do have reach. Like, I would do it at this cost, and it'd be a piece of sponsored content. I don't know, just an idea, but maybe that's where your paid portion comes in if you don't feel confident or comfortable about it performing, I don't know.
Because I'm not going to get reimbursed from the traffic probably. So if I'm going to do one of the other thoughts is a simpler one. It's like, look, all right, if you have a Facebook page, I'll share it to my page, but I still don't. Then I worry about the other things. The other aspect, I get a lot of people, everybody's doing wonderful things in their community, wonderful charities. You maybe think about it with events, and they'll message me like, can you promote my event? And
exactly.
So there's two folds. One is I do need to pay the bills with the site, but then secondly, once I do one, I know this is true. Once I do one sort of charity event, I'm going to get inundated. I'm already getting 2 requests a week for it, which doesn't sound like too much. But the moment I put, the hoagie sale for the fire hall up on my site or even on my Facebook page, everybody's going to hit me. So I'm I have had to just say no to it. So
you will get flooded. You absolutely will get flooded.
I appreciate you agreeing to that.
Yeah. 100%. And it's not a bad. So part of what we've done is that we literally just promote basically anyone that we think it fits our event calendar. They submit a form or whatever. We're like, cool. Everyone gets 2 weeks free promotion, but if they want to buy like more promotion, they can do
Right.
that. So that's kind of how we've worked that out. Is it's just like, yes, hey, because honestly, like events are pretty good content for us. It's kind of like one of the main things we're known for in our city is like an event calendar. People come to us to check out events and stuff
Right.
like that.
What's interesting about us talking right now, so I
Mhm.
absolutely have had in my radar for the beginning to do events. I even have a side thing called 42 Freeway Destinations where I would just go to just interesting places, in the middle of the South Jersey. But what's interesting about our conversation is you have the events and maybe some destination piece, but not the news stories in the
Mhm.
community. I
Yep.
have the community news stories, but not the events. So literally, I think us sharing ideas and talking it through, we could, we each want to add in what the other guy has.
Mark, this is why I invited you to a private, an additional private group of people with local media sites. It's literally for that reason, because people are coming at this thing from different angles. And I think
Right.
to create a brand, like a bigger brand, I think we're going to need potentially all these pieces.
Right.
Like we actually did quarterly print guides, like event guides before pre-pandemic. And
Wow.
that was one of the most profitable things that we did. And we're potentially talking about bringing that back. So many advertisers that didn't want to touch us with like digital, even though we have a big exposure and what we do. They're like, oh yeah, we'd love to buy ads and sponsor this print magazine. So it's like we're actually talking about bringing that part back. We have a project called Do Some Good Mobile, which actually still is. It's an annual print publication. It's coming up on its 5th year. It's an idea that launched out of our local media brand. Now my wife runs it basically full time. She's actually starting a nonprofit, like a 501c based
Wow.
around that brand. And so it's like these ideas can come out of what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like just out of what we're doing in our community.
I would love to hear more about that because what I'm hearing is, you need someone who's functioning as a salesperson. It's a lot of coordination to get those ads. And I'd love to hear more about that. Even in my own community in South Jersey, there are small niche magazines that are 60, 70 pages that have ads in full color. And I'm like, wow, even that small publication is just a huge amount of work. And
It
I
is. It
feel
is.
like we each have our following, right? And it's like, okay, we know what our followers are interested in. What else can we add? Do you want fries with that? What else can we add that our followers can? And I think all these things we're talking about are items I want to add. It's just I have this sort of, as I was talking before, I have this sort of not time management, but just being the one man shop. It's been tough for me.
No,
So.
I mean 100%. Yes, exact same things I'm facing. You have to decide what you're gonna expand into or what you're
Right.
gonna do. So part of the reason a few years back, actually, I would argue the reason why you and I are getting to know each other and connect today
Mhm.
is because for my personal brand, 3 years ago I got Mediavine, and then we had been running our local site for at that time about 8 years. Just an email newsletter, social media, kind of then started those print guides. I was like, wait a minute, I don't have time to sell, and I hate selling locally. Like I
Yeah.
can't stand it, and I don't have time. I was like, whoa. Why aren't I doing the same thing for a media brand as my personal brand? And so the media brand actually came on board with Mediavine second. And I was like, Mediavine basically is our sales team. Like you and I, like they are
Right.
our sales department for ad sales. Like we don't necessarily have to do that, right? Like we don't have to
Right.
necessarily ask local businesses to advertise. They're getting kind of national advertisements from via Mediavine doing the selling for us. Yeah. Okay.
Recently, I didn't understand this when I got approved for Mediavine 3 years ago. I did recently, in a very crisp email to Mediavine, found out that we are allowed to sell direct ads and put them on the site. You just can't. The ads.txt file is very important to Google, the ad networks. We can't modify that. So I recently installed, well, for the second time, because I tried to do direct ads myself, a WordPlus plugin that has some capabilities to inject ads. So I have the headline, the featured image, and I turned the last one off because the beer festival ended, but then would have the ad underneath. And I thought, you know what? I think I have enough following in the area that if I just put a page up and said, hey, you could have your ad directly on 42 Freeway, that it would be an easier flow for me. Like people would actually reach out to me as opposed to me trying to go out and get the sale. And if I hit some, I hit some. If I don't, then I'm still doing Mediavine money. So.
Exactly. That for sure would be the easiest way to test, right? Is just to put that there. They could click and just fill out a form or whatever. Yeah, that actually, I mean, you're giving me that idea. Funny is that I reached out to Mediavine recently and also confirmed that probably within the last month. I thought you could, but I just wanted to confirm, like, hey, I just want to make sure that we can. Yeah, I guess exactly what you said.
Yeah.
They responded and said, yes, you just, can't do whatever.
I swear when I signed up, it was an absolute no, but I saw some comments in one of the private groups that we have for the network, and someone mentioned it. I'm like, wait a minute, what? So anyway, I'm happy for it. Now I got to make something happen.
Well, do you want people to find you online? Obviously, 42 Freeway, is that where you want people, if someone's like, man, I want to, like, this guy's cool, I want to link up. Where would you want people to find you?
Yeah, well, so it's 42freeway.com is the actual website. The Facebook page is /42freeway. Really, those are the two entities. The website is the main thing, and then one of the main ways people find my content is on Facebook and share it. And that's my world. I've had different sites. I've collapsed everything in the 42 Freeway. It would be interesting if you're in like 6 or 9 months if I have some successes, breaking out of my one-man show and bringing other folks in to sort of do a recap video. If the video doesn't happen, that means it wasn't successful.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've got ideas for you. I think there's some things that I can do to help you, just like push you, because I have a team. Most of them are actually international that work with me and do different things and have different skill sets. Social media, and help me do some writing and help me with. And I have fun doing that. Like, it's been fun for me, and so I think I'll be able to like give you some pointers or feedback there, and we can brainstorm there. So yeah. Excellent. All right, stick around. Let you and I chat for a little bit, and everyone else can watch this next video.